A simple yet effective change towards the area of airports at the sim, would that really make a difference with this new add-on? Let's find out on what this is really about, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're all doing great so far. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome you to the channel. Very often do we cover the latest on what's going on at Microsoft Flight Simulator, so make sure you hit that subscribe button for future releases. A new addition from the Studios of JustFlight, who've been excited to bring this add-on over the last few days. Navigation is key to a smooth flight, not just on the skies, perhaps on the ground level too, where often do pilots come across complex and highly regulated areas of airports, right away from smaller airfields to larger ones, making it a mandate to follow the right procedures and tasks that can help them to guide and navigate as efficiently as possible throughout the airport. The team of JustFlight have recently brought this add-on. It's called Real Taxiways. A completely different pack that's focused towards surface navigation, giving us the experience on how more realistic flight simming can be. And it's great to see developers focus on these types of changes which can bring more towards immersion. Something to note is that the focus would be mainly towards the region of the US. A good start, I would imagine. Add-ons like these are great. Taxiway signs are needed, and having accurate ones are even more of importance, along with sign placements. This has been a specific section where the sim definitely needs improvements, and that's where JustFlight have been rather a kind of a support system to enable this towards a much better experience. Realistic airport operations, ground navigation through real-world charts has certainly something to experience, and on top of that, taxiway signs and placements can confuse us, leading to a complicated beginning of a flight rather. The goal of this add-on is to offer us the best environments for airport operations, which can go seamlessly and further enhance proficiency, helping us to learn from the challenges on how really ground operations can operate, and they really matter. This is quite essential to have the right ground procedures before either takeoffs or landings. The airports covered by Real Taxiways are reliable, helping us guide through the use of real-world airport diagrams, signs on the ground, external moving map programs, and ATC instructions. The goal is focused on corrections and enhancements to speak specifically here. The default airports are good so far in the sim. However, there are many flaws towards taxiway signs which can be found in the center line of taxiways, or even taxiway lights for that matter, which have been pretty much scattered throughout the airport, which can be even found in areas of grass or parking areas which are not accurate. This add-on should address these areas so as to keep the immersion quite convincing. Additionally, there are quite an amount of features that include dynamically generated ground vehicle signs, runway safety awareness signs, runway distance remaining signs, and custom destination signs depending on the airport. Now, when it comes to this specific area, there are many variations in content from the size, orientation, which can be generated depending on the personalities and the uniqueness of each of these airports, which can give a nice real experience. BlackSquare is another studio, and with the help of their partnership, JustFlight are moving towards progressing on this area of development. Utilities are not plenty in the simulator yet. There are many developers who are trying to be creative in their own fashion towards fixing the sim, trying to collaborate, and a small change like this can spread across a specific region. And in this case, it's going to be the US. With the help of tools, this can always be beneficial, and it can bag more interest as it can tweak a lot of dynamics in the simulator, making the flight much more interesting. What exactly this add-on does is that it replaces the default taxiway signs at Class C and D airports all over the US. Now, if you're new towards knowing about the class of airports, there are 6 classes of airports. More like airspaces which are controlled, and the foundations are focused towards flight rules and interactions between the aircraft as well as the ATC when it comes to classes. Now, Class A and C are busy airports, and the level of importance goes down with the alphabets moving, and this is in reference only to the US, so don't mistake it as a general reference for other countries as they have their own definition of classes under airspace. The focus of this add-on would be towards Class C and D airports. More than 1,000 airports have been updated with taxiway signs in total. The taxiway names match towards the real-world data as well as sign placements. There are different variations of sign types which can be double-sided taxiway signs, sign sizes which can be appropriate to the type of airport, and there are hundreds of airport sign personalities that can create an authentic experience. If you're wondering what a Class C airport can actually manage, they are a specific class of airspace that follows the ICAO, which is the International Civil Aviation Organization airspace designation. In simple terms, busy airports that have a good mix of airline and GA traffic. For example, San Jose International Airport would come under Class C. And it's an airport of moderate importance when you compare to, say, a Class B airport, which can be rather a busier airport like San Francisco International Airport, which could extend its operations in order to accommodate more number of planes, not just on the side of ATC level and rules. It requires more monitoring of jets going in and out of the airport. Most of the Class C airports are home to flight schools and small aircraft hangar along with airliners. Now, the studios of Asobo have done a beautiful job so far. They're focused on the core elements that really matter and that can support the sim so far. Towards knowing on where the sim can stand under taxiways, this is definitely going to take some time. And in the meanwhile, we have other studios who are trying to be more creative, and I would say it's a better approach from several studios on what all they can think of towards adding the experience of flight simming. Now, JustFlight has been working on this project from some time, trying to see that every area can be addressed towards the part of the airport, and taxiway names have to be accurate as they really matter. Not just the accuracy of names, the placement of signs, as well as the types of signs. Some airports can have double-sided signs, and different airports have their own way of having signs in order to be as unique as possible. And we ought to understand that they're just not focusing on the exterior cosmetic part of the signs. They're trying to make it as readable as possible right away from the cockpit without the dependency of zooming in to look for the signs. They've also considered the land and hold short operation markings to see that it should either be placed or removed when not present. The runway should see some improvements in lighting at large airports. Recovered unusable parking spots, ramp areas have seen improvements, for example, north parking or east parking, which can be requested particularly from the ATC. There have been revisions at parking locations for all types of aircraft like the GAs, commercial, cargo, military cargo, and military combat aircraft. Towards the VR aspect, you should get the option to increase the sign sizes, which can make it rather more comfortable to the eyes. A recent release, the prime focus for this add-on is taxiways, and the studios are doing their best to own this part of the sim by producing a quality product. It's been a great opportunity for JustFlight. This is sold for $39.99. You can get the Real Taxiway add-on for the civilian set, which is basically covering Class B, C, D, and non-tarred airports. Towards the military airfields, that's going to be a separate pack sold for almost $18, which is basically the military airfields Real Taxiways. Utilities and tools are still growing in the sim with more add-ons to come. We ought to know what else can we expect in the future to come. Make sure to subscribe to get notified on future releases towards Microsoft Flight Simulator. We have a lot more to experience and discover. We certainly hope you liked this video. Until next time, do take care and happy flying, folks.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop